Jonambalo hilote, Jonambalo hilote.
In this room at the moment is gathered a lot of free spirit, a lot of civil courage, a lot of curiosity, and a lot of knowledge about human rights and freedom of expression. I have the great pleasure to introduce a true friend in the fight for freedom of expression, a true supporter of this forum, a politician, an activist, a writer, and an intellectual, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Norway, Mr. Jonas Gahr Støre. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and let me, on behalf of the government, welcome you, a heartily welcome to Oslo this week. I thought today, on the 3rd of June, that I would start with a tank man. A photograph, a few seconds of a film clip, which was transmitted all over the world, of a man at Beijing's Tiananmen Square in June 1989, almost exactly 20 years ago. This anonymous man, in a white shirt with dark trousers and carrying a small bag in his left hand, as he stands right in front of a Chinese tank 59, and the tanks have halted, and we ask ourselves, what now? We do not know if the man spoke, but his courageous moves were in themselves a powerful act of expression. Then the tanks move, and he moves, and then another halt, and we are all deeply moved. This is a very vivid image of these protests, the so-called 4th June events, which were in the making 20 years ago exactly today in China, the tank man, the unknown rebel. I have been told that the most widely reproduced versions of this photograph was taken by Jeff Widener of the Associated Press, the AP, from the 6th floor of the Beijing hotel, some 800 meters from the scene through a 400mm lens. Other photographers from Magnum Photos and Newsweek, as well as CNN and BBC film crews, transmitted the same scene, an extremely powerful symbol at the end of the Cold War era. Now, we may say that that photo did not change the world, or perhaps it did. It formed a world opinion and continues to do so. We will remember it for the rest of our lives, and something changed. Honored participants, ladies and gentlemen, words can kill, and you can be killed by words. Words can heal, and words can reconcile. I fear the newspapers more than 100,000 bayonets. This is not my quote, but it is supposed to be Napoleon Bonaparte having said this back at his times. Last autumn, we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which establishes freedom of expression as a fundamental right. Universal and fundamental. All of us gathered here today, however, know that the reality of a right, being universal and fundamental, depends on the context. Governments around the world are bound by universal standards, but the realities, should I say, on the ground, differ radically. That is in itself a convincing reason for addressing freedom of expression at the international settings, such as this global forum in Oslo this week. You know better than others that freedom of expression really means, why it matters, and how reality also may differ. As human rights defenders and activists, many of you defend free speech in your country or globally every day, and all too many do so by paying a high price. You may live in a country affected by armed conflict, or in a country where democracy is falling apart, or in a country with widespread corruption. You may have been put to prison, or taken to court. You may have had to leave your home country. You may have risked your own life, and you may even have family members and loved ones who have paid the ultimate price. Or you may live here in Norway, where the debate amounts to the following question: how do we exercise this fundamental right as responsible citizens? With the exception of incitement to hatred, there is no longer any legal or other kind of limitation to freedom of speech in my country. We appreciate that no law, no paragraph should limit free thinking and free speech. Yet, as citizens in a pluralistic society, we all know that words, expressions, articles, statements, images, photos, and even political cartoons may matter, that plain speaking to some may cause turmoil to others. And I believe firmly that no law can guide us through this landscape. Only moral decisions by individuals, neighbors, friends, colleagues, editors, and ministers can do so. In recent months, the debate on these issues in my country have been intense. And I would pay this tribute to Francis Sejersted, who chaired the commissions on the freedom of expression 10 years ago, with very little debate. Now, a decade later, when we live in the real world, the debate is intense and real, and sometimes painful, and I welcome that. I think it's good, because it matters. These discussions are useful reminders of why freedom of expression is such a cherished right, and why we have to stand up for it. Because this freedom is a fundamental right that is essential for the realization of so many other fundamental rights and freedoms. It is a cornerstone. It not only allows people, of course, to express themselves freely, it is also essential for fostering the understanding and tolerance, democratic processes, good governance, conflict resolution, as well as economic development. And that's why we recall Amartya Sen's words that there has never been a famine in a country with a free press and free elections. Today, however, when we do a tour of the world's realities, we see that restrictions on access to knowledge and information, which again limits the freedom to express oneself, threaten to keep millions confined to the lower rungs of the economic ladder and prevent them from developing the potential they were born with. Not being able to go to school, or to read books, or to buy newspapers, or to search the internet. In Europe, in the 16th century, the Church banned books published by the heretics and unauthorized editions of the Bible. Today, unauthorized editions of the Quran face similar restrictions in some countries. Censorship is taking a variety of new forms. Seen in a global context, what are the main threats to the freedom of expressions today? Big question. We face new challenges regarding internet censorship, surveillance, and data miming. We see new forms of authoritarianism aiming at dictating some opinions and dissuading others. We witness violence, imprisonment, and harassment of journalists, writers, and publishers. We learn about organized crime, impunity, wars, and the many other such restrictions on access. We count defamation suits and strict media laws. And we see how concentration of media ownership, for example through mergers and acquisitions, also define the context for opinion and expression. So the challenges are many, and I'm sure that many of them will be at the top of the agenda during this week of the Global Forum of Freedom of Expression here in Oslo. In today's globalized world, and it is a reflection I'm making after 4 years in this job as foreign minister, we are often faced with the following dilemma. We are more interdependent than ever as states and governments, organization groups, and individuals. We need more channels of contact, more discussions, more forum of dialogue than ever before in order to deal with both differences and commonalities. We need to sit down around tables with governments and groups representing values or interests that we ourselves do not share and express our minds. We need to take more advantage of established channels of communications, such as the many UN bodies, and we need to develop new channels, many more channels, bridges, and new means that can cut across all dividing lines, be they regional, cultural, or ideological.